Hello there, everyone. We are back for another Total Image Woman of the Week. And as usual, I have someone very special to share with you. I love doing this, and I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So this week, we're talking about writing. It's the bane of some people's existence, particularly business owners or even creative writers. But you sit down, you've got pen to paper or fingers on those keyboards, and you just think, all right, now what do I do? What do I say? Where do I start? Oh, that's terrible. And you find you're judging yourself all the time and it doesn't come out the way you wanted to. Or you think that might be pretty good, but I'm not sure. All these questions that come up in your head, it can keep you from being able to be as creative as you could be, to really get your message across clearly, or to feel confident in all of that. And that's what's really, really, really important, particularly if you're in business. You want to make sure that you are really speaking to the people you want to speak to in a very clear way. And you know what? None of us wants this to take 4 million hours to do it. So I have a very special guest today, Beth Knaus, who I met through Pepper Lane. Now, you've all heard me mention Pepper Lane. It's a fabulous networking group for moms and mom supporters. And it's full of these amazing women. I have just met so many great people through this. And Celeste is watching. Hey, Celeste. And Beth is just one of those. I recently did in Pepper Lane, they call them boosts. I just did a Pepper Lane boost with Beth and 7 or 8 other women. I forget now. And she is just a true delight. I had met her before that too. It's part of the reason I went into one of her boosts. And she is just so much fun, so creative, and so friendly, easy to talk to. None of us wants to feel judged when we're writing, such a personal thing. So without further ado, I want to invite you to welcome Beth Knaus. Hi, Beth.
Hey, Ginger. Thanks so much for having me today. This is really exciting.
Oh, I'm just thrilled that you're here. I mean, just look at your smile. Who could not be just feel engaged and welcomed by that fabulous smile? So tell us more about what you do. I've given people a little taste, but tell us more about what you do and how did you end up, because you had kind of an interesting way to get to doing what you do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I haven't always been writing for my career. So I actually started out in the beauty industry and I spent 35 years doing a variety of different things. I was a hairdresser, I owned a hair salon. I worked for a hair care company, working at trade shows and at in sales, and I was a salon educator. So I did a lot of different things in that industry. And I guess I've been writing since like middle school, probably, typical teenage angst, complaining about boys, writing poetry, that sort of thing. But I was always really drawn to writing as communication. And when I moved to Massachusetts, I joined some writing groups and I did a lot of personal writing, essays and short stories and, whatever was happening for me. And when my kids were little, I went through a divorce. And so I went back to hairdressing. I had owned a hair salon in Boston when I first moved here. I worked for a couple crazy people and decided that I was either going to go out on my own or change careers. And luckily I opened a business, which was fantastic. And so I, sold it and was home with my kids and, made use of it again when I needed to make money. And so I worked at home. And at the same time, I also took on a job working for a company called Art Matters. It was an art awareness company. And I would go to independent living facilities and libraries and council on aging with boxes of prints. And I would talk about these artists, Monet, the Renaissance, Picasso, whoever I was scheduled to talk about. It was a phenomenal job. And it really helped me as far as writing. A lot of people don't realize that, the visual art is such a big piece of communication, right? Because we really hold on to the things we see, but it's also a different way of describing things. Usually when people can't find the words for things they can use visual stuff. And so it gives me a really different sort of perspective when I'm writing about things. And I did that job for 15 years. I knew I wanted to write professionally, and my youngest went off to college. My now husband and I knew we were going to downsize, and I said, I'm not cutting hair when we move. I want to write, full time. I'll ease out of my art job said everyone about something before COVID. And then COVID came, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to go full time, and this is where I'm going to be. And it's been a great year and a half for me business wise. I mean, I hate to say that because a lot of people have had difficult time, but and I've worked really hard, but it's been great to me. So my company is called That's a Spade Copywriting Services, and I write all kinds of copy for people and with people. So website content or blogs or sales pages, email newsletter content, pretty much anything that people need to have written word for. And if they need to hire me to do it for them, I do it. I also do one-on-one sessions for people, and I also run programs and stuff. So
I love it. So I know what everybody's thinking is, first of all, well, there's lots of things that I'm sure we're thinking because you just gave us so much information, but how did you come up with That's a Spade as the name of your business?
So people who know me know that I shoot from the hip, and I'm a pretty direct communicator. And growing up, I was raised by my dad, and I think that's definitely a different element, right? Because men communicate differently, and there's more fact and not as much emotion, right, for men. Generally, I don't mean to stereotype. I'm gonna get in any kind of trouble. My dad used to say, call a spade a spade. Like he always spoke very transparently and directly to me. And so when I had to name my company, I was like, this is it. I'm not a rosy colored glasses person. I want to say the truth and, find a really engaging way to say it. So
Yeah. Oh, I love that. What a wonderful tribute to your dad. That's just so cool. I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit. I mean, I know even within the writing field, you do a number of things. There are a lot of different ways. I know. All right. So let me back up for a minute. When I was in college, I was very, very, very insecure about my writing. And I remember, of course, we all had typewriters, not computers back then. And I remember I was in my dorm room one time, and one of my friends came into my room while I was typing one of my papers for a class. And I immediately covered what I had typed, what was on the typewriter, because I was so afraid that she would read it and just be like, how did you ever get into this school? So, and then I was very lucky. I was a music major in college. I was very lucky that one of my music teachers at one point read what I had written, and she said, "You're a really good writer." And I was like, "Oh my God, really? Is this true?" And it just sort of blew my mind, and it gave me so much more confidence. I still felt a little insecure, but so much more confidence. And one of the things she said is exactly what you basically, I think, just said. Tell me if I'm wrong. Be direct. You don't need all these flowery words. You don't need big words. You just need to say what you mean. And I've always remembered that some 30 or 40 years later, that just, you don't have to get fancy. You just have to speak in a way that people understand what you're saying and relate to what you're saying. And what I love about what you do is that there are some people who will say, like, I don't care. I hate writing. It takes me 4 million hours. Here's what I need to have done. Please, Beth, go write this for me. And then you have other people who might say, hey, I've written this. Can you go over it with me? Is this true that you do both of those things?
yes, absolutely. I'm happy when somebody says, I'm working with somebody now. This is funny. He's a cybersecurity specialist. Now, this may come as a surprise, but I really don't know anything about cybersecurity. But, somebody like that is smart enough to see that they can't write in layman's terms. And so they want it written in a way that their audience is going to understand, because they are not their audience.
Yeah.
So somebody like that hands it over and says, okay, and I'll say, is this technically correct? Is this or what else? But they know that I'm the one who makes it engaging and that people want to read it. So I will take it and write it and hand it back to you and ask for your approval, but I will do the work. But there are people, I think, that especially more like solo professionals, that what they're saying is so personal, and they want to make sure that they are in the writing, but like you just said, they're uncertain, or they're insecure about it. And so I do one-on-one sessions with them where they have an outline or they have some notes, and we get on and screen share, and we actually flesh out the content right there. And I've had people do it for one. I've had somebody do it for an entire website, and we did 3 or 4 of them. Whatever it takes. But they just really appreciate having somebody there, like as a mentor or a coach, to kind of say, yes, that sounds great, or let's use this language or present it this way. And they get to work with it. So,
I love that, because one of the things you just said is, they know they're not their audience. And I think even for those of us who know our audience really well, who maybe relate to our audience on many levels, we still, in a way, are not our audience, because we know what we know, and that's what we're teaching. And sometimes it's hard to think back to, okay, how do we describe this in a way for somebody who has never heard these terms before, or never thought about this particular process in that way? And so having you to say, I wouldn't understand that unless I was a cyber security specialist. I wouldn't know what that means. I think it's so helpful, because we sometimes don't realize that we're in a different space from the people that we're actually going to work with.
right. Right. Absolutely. And I just finished actually editing a small business handbook for someone. Um, it's a fabulous book. It's called Unmute Yourself, and the author is Nancy Medoff. And it's just a fabulous book. But her background is in sales. So there were a number of times where I would say, we have to change this language, because not everybody understands like these sales terms. And she was awesome. She just was really great to work with. And she would say, okay, let's do that. You're great. That's a great point. So, and it's really nice to work with somebody who gets it, right, and then trusts that I'm the professional, that I'm the expert, and that's really what we need to say. So,
right. Oh, you know what? It's so nice to hand these things over sometimes and just say, okay, I do not have to be in charge of this. I can just let you take the reins here. And obviously working in collaboration, which is really important, because you want to make really sure you're getting somebody's voice.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit. I know one of the things, you have a couple of things coming up, which are really, so many things I want to talk about. Let's go back to a minute about when you and I were chatting, we talked about, why is creativity so important when it comes to writing content for your business? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm a big champion for creativity and creative writing. And a lot of the times, I'm just going to say quickly, people hear the term creative writing and they think about short stories or novels or poetry. But really, every type of writing should be creative writing. And some writers write much more technical, analytical stuff, or you're writing white papers, which are very informational. I mean, you don't want to put people to sleep. There's still going to be, right, some creative elements so that your reader is engaged by what you're saying. And so finding that way to be informational and do all of that stuff, but engage the reader, that's creative. That's tough. And a creative nonfiction is another famous term, that I love. I'm like, why isn't all nonfiction creative? I don't know. Like, I personally don't understand, why is there just plain nonfiction that's really uncreative? So, anyway, I think people, who do some of their own content, schedule it, and then they sit down and then they're like, well, what do I write? And how do I write it? And they expect it to just come. And it's something that you have to develop. It's something you have to nurture. It's a vulnerable thing. We just said you're expressing yourself. And so you worry about what people think when they read what you have to say. And so you need to have a confidence in your creativity, and you need to be able to sit down and turn it on so that when you're writing your business content, it's there and there's a flow. And when you become confident in your writing and your creativity is consistent, that's when you can really capture like all those jewels. It's like searching for buried treasure. You got to get all that stuff off the top so you can get to the creativity underneath, and then really be original and dynamic and unique in your copy, so that you don't just fall into the abyss with everybody else who does the same thing that you do, because they don't do it the same.
And also,
Right?
so it feels fresh, because sometimes you feel like, okay, I've said that 8 million times. How many more
Right.
times am I going to say
Right.
that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so important, because there's so many different perspectives and ways to say the same thing. But
Right.
you have to be well-oiled creatively to find those ways and feel good about saying them.
Yes, absolutely. So on that point, can you give us a couple of tips to make writing a little bit easier for people?
Sure. So I'm going to say one of the first things is really knowing how to capture your ideas. Because again, it's not like we're like, oh, it's 2 o'clock. It's idea time for me, right? Right? We get ideas when we're, watching our kid's school concert or in the shower or out to lunch with your Aunt Zadie or whatever. And it's like, we always fool ourselves, try to fool ourselves and think, I'm going to remember that idea. That's a great idea. Nope, not happening. It's like a tunnel through your head. It doesn't stop, it doesn't get caught. You have to capture it, right? It's like catching fireflies in the jar. Like, what is your jar? Do you need to vocally capture them and record them? Do you need to have a notebook with you at all times to write it down? Do you want to text it to yourself? So I think that's one of the first things. And then keeping them all in the same place, like once a day or once a week or whatever, depending on how much idea generation you have, and keeping it in one place so that then you're not like, hey, did I ever know? Did I leave it on my phone? Did I?
Yeah.
So one of the things I've discovered that I love, I'm sure a lot of people do this, I have notes on my iPhone and you can talk into notes and it transcribes it. And then you can just copy and paste. Oh my, it's like a game changer. So I would say that. The other thing is when you sit down, if you're struggling to write, just start to scribble, just start to write ideas or words that are coming to you, use thesaurus.com or, some people are funny about looking at competitors and what they're writing. Find what they're writing and then find a different way to say it. You have a theme, you start to write about it. And I think people sit down and they want to write beginning, middle, end. And it's rare. I could probably count on one hand how many times I write something down and it stays the first thing, right? So get the idea down. Don't worry about the structure, right? We worry about, I don't know, being graded like we're in school. Like, or do we have all the grammatical things right in the verb tenses and people get caught up in that, just get the rough draft down on paper. There's actually a writer, her name is Anne Lamott.
Oh, yeah.
She calls the first time you're writing something, excuse me, everyone, your shitty first draft. It's not supposed to be fantastic the first time. It's supposed to be a bunch of gobbledygook that you then go through and rearrange and pick out the shining words and all that sort of stuff. So
yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. Those are great. Yeah, I've learned that I just have to start, because if I sit there thinking, okay, what's the perfect first sentence? Forget it. I never write anything.
Right.
And so I just start writing and then I'll go back and go, oh, yikes, not that. Get rid of that. Oh, that's pretty good. You're right. So and also, I think it's really important to have a second set of eyes on things a lot, particularly when something is you're trying to draw people in or you're trying to connect with people. It's really important for those of us in particular who are solo entrepreneurs, to have someone else take a look at it. Someone like you who can say, oh, but you forgot to mention this, or you're not speaking to their pain points, or whatever it might be that, is important in whatever you're trying to get across. So we can't be everything to ourselves in our business. We have to have other input, or things get stale or things get missed. So
I agree. It's so important, especially if you're working by yourself or for yourself, to decide what you can delegate. Like, I recently hired a VA and I know we're working together maybe a month or so, maybe 6 weeks. And initially I was like, well, what the heck am I going to give her to do? Now every day I'm like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? It just took a while for me to see, like, I don't have to be doing this minutia that is trapping me, right? That's preventing my creativity in my writing for myself and for my clients. So it's important to get some help. And I don't know why I feel like as women, sometimes we're like, oh, I can't ask for help.
Oh, that's for sure.
But it's part of business, it's definitely part of business and growing your business. So
Exactly. And I think sometimes people think it's going to cost a lot more than it really is, particularly if it's something that we struggle with. It's like, well, that's going to take like 6 hours to do that.
Exactly.
Whereas somebody for whom it's second nature or what they do every day, it's like, no, I can get that done in an hour. It's like, oh,
absolutely.
Okay, that's really nice. And that's an hour or 6 hours then that we get back, because we don't have to spend the time trying to flesh all that out on our own and then just worry that we haven't done it right anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So tell us a little bit. There's something you have coming up. I think you said you just did one today, but you have these free 30-minute creative writing workshops, and you have more coming up. Tell us about those.
Yes. So because I have this program coming up, I wanted to give people a taste of what, creative writing practice is. So I scheduled 3 dates for 30 minutes at lunchtime for people to come and do a creative writing prompt and learn a little bit about creative practice and how it can benefit your business. So I had one today. It was great. I think we had, I don't know, 6 or 7 people there, which was nice. And I'm doing another one May 26th and June 1st. They're at 12:30 in the afternoon. There's a link to it, which I think that you'll probably share, and people can just register and they'll get the Zoom link and they can show up and bring your, in the post I wrote, you can bring your bologna sandwich and your Fritos
Right.
to lunch writing time. But it was good fun today.
So tell us, like, what do people bring to that? Like, what can they expect to learn or get out of that half an hour?
So you need your pen and your notebook,
There
and
we go.
you can, go on your computer if you want. But I like it when people write by hand. I think it's different. It kind of triggers your brain in a different way.
Yeah.
And they just have to come, with an open mind, ready to write. A couple people shared today what they wrote. Again, everybody knew that they had like 10 minutes to write this thing. So just be open minded and be ready to have a little bit of fun and meet some people and
So
ask
it's kind
questions.
of like a guided writing tour in a way.
Hmm.
Very cool. How fun. Oh,
Yeah,
my goodness.
it's great.
They can share as much or as little of what they actually do as they want to.
Of course, absolutely, always. And it's always a safe space. I always make sure people know this is a safe space. You want to share something. And if you don't, that's okay too. But it
Yeah.
feels good to read it out loud after you've written it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then tell us about, you also have, I always have to read this because it's a long name. You have the Content Development Incubator Program, which I think
Yeah.
starts on June 8th.
Yes.
What is
I'm
that?
so excited about this program. It's going to be so great. So again, all of these things that we're talking about, we're going to take 8 weeks to spend a little time building our creative practice. People will get some goodies at home that they can work with and do some writing on their own. We'll do, work on their business writing too. They'll decide ahead of time what is it they really want to accomplish in their own writing, that they're looking for that creativity to do. We'll have a Facebook group. They'll get a few one-on-one sessions with me. We're going to do co-works. They're going to be able to send me personally 2 pieces of work that I'll give them a Loom video that has feedback and critique, and really get a lot of support around writing and writing often. And one of the things I really want to say is that because it's a lot of people were like, oh, you're running a program in the summer. This is the type of writing you want to do in the summer, right? We're going to be outside. It's going to be warm. We're going to relax a little bit. We're coming off of a time period where our senses were dulled just by anxiety and tension and things. And I want people to take their notebook to the beach, to the lake, to their backyard, wherever, so they can really work on that creative piece. So I think it's going to be great. And then they'll get some business writing done. So
Having a little having space gives them, helps to keep the creative juices flowing.
Yes.
So being at the lake or being in the mountains or being just outside in their backyard can help that, just so they're relaxed, they're not stressed, like, what can I get done in this next, however long that classes are. But wow. Oh, that's very, very cool.
Yeah. So there's, a couple seats open in there. I'd love to get some people in there, and I'm happy to hop on a call with people if they want to ask some questions. So.
If they aren't sure if it's the right fit for them, or Okay, totally awesome. All right, and do you have a Facebook group for people who just want to get to know Beth a little bit more?
I have a Facebook page, and so it's Lots of Spade.
Okay, great. Awesome. I realized I hadn't asked you that before, but I thought, okay. And you have a mailing list if people come onto your website?
Yep, I do. Absolutely. Have an email list.
Great. Okay. Yay. So many very good things here. Okay. So, all right, we've covered a lot. Are there things that we haven't covered that you want to make sure people know about?
I don't know. I think we talked about the program and the lunch. I feel like there's so much. Like we said, a lot of things.
It is a lot of things. It is a lot of things. And for anybody who's looking to grow their business, I put in a little plug here for Pepper Lane.
Sure.
Networking group. Definitely hop on there. And then you can get to know Beth also, because she leads the boost, some of the networking events every month. So another way to get to know Beth.
Yes.
And all right, so here's a fashion question for you. What
Okay.
is one of your favorite things to wear?
So one of my favorite things to wear, I'm going to talk about it because I'm wearing it. I have a girlfriend who lives in New York, and she's a wonderful jewelry designer. Her business name is Sugar Jewels.
Oh my gosh, I love
Yeah, so she's got these really beautiful handmade pieces. I have a couple of them. I'm very fortunate. So I do like to wear that because I'm not I don't know, I'm a pretty casual dresser, but I feel like a piece of jewelry like this really ups your game when you're wearing it, and it's a statement piece. People notice it, and
Yeah, and it's fun. You can put like you're doing, you can just put it on with a t-shirt and your cat. Is that your cat behind you?
that is my big. Oh, let me see if I can move so you can see
You have
him.
to
He's
move
a
the opposite
big,
way, yeah.
chubby cat.
Oh, a black and white cat. I have a black and white kitty like that too. Oh my
Oh,
goodness,
he's
I
a
love
really great
it.
cat. He's a great cat.
Oh, so cat hair is another thing that you wear periodically.
Oh, definitely. Periodically. I wish that was only periodically. Yes.
Oh, I have 6 cats, so believe me, cat hair is part of my life. It just is. It's just what it is.
Oh, it's
It's
crazy.
totally fine. But no, I was admiring your necklace. It's very beautiful and
Thanks.
very creative. It's very
Yeah.
creative. So and beautiful, and the coloring for you, very really lovely. I love it. I love it.
Thanks. That's very flattering coming from you, Ginger.
Oh well, you look great. You look wonderful. And I loved talking with you, Beth. And I'm just so glad that we got to do this. I think you have some amazing things coming on. People can join your free creative writing workshop and get to know you a little bit more, or hop into your incubator program. There's so much that they can do with you. And just, here's a time to make our lives easier. Why try to do everything yourself when you can pass off some of the writing, or at least get confirmation or support in
Mhm.
your writing. So you have so many ways that you can work with people. And I will put all of your links into the comments so people can find you easily. But thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Yeah, very fun, very fun. And thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Celeste, for being here. And I hope you all have just a totally lovely, relaxing, healthy, safe, fun weekend coming up. And we will be back here again for another Total Image Woman of the Week interview next week. So stay tuned, and I will see you all then. So bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.